My best friend wanted me to pick up his daughter from kindergarten, but the child who got into my car was definitely not his kid. The substitute teacher at Ridgewood Elementary shoved this hollow-eyed girl toward my Honda Civic, checking her clipboard twice before nodding. "Here's Sophia for you, Mr. Brennan." But I'd been picking up Mike Castillo's daughter every Thursday for 6 months. This wasn't her. This child had Sophia's dark hair and wore her Batman backpack, but when she climbed into my car, she moved like an old woman pretending to be 5 years old. Real Sophia bounced everywhere, chattering non-stop about playground drama and art projects. This girl sat perfectly still, hands folded, staring at nothing. "How was school today, sweetheart?" I asked, watching her in the rearview mirror. She tilted her head like she was translating my words from another language. After 10 seconds of silence, she whispered, "School was educational. I learned appropriate behaviors." The formal phrasing made my skin crawl. Real Sophia would have already told me that Jeremy ate glue again, and Mrs. Patterson's wig looked funny. I pulled over immediately and turned around to study her face. Same olive skin, same brown eyes, same small mole near her left ear. But Sophia had chipped her front tooth last month when she fell off the monkey bars. This child's teeth were perfect, straight, unmarked. My hands started shaking as I realized I was either looking at Sophia's identical twin or staring at evidence of something horrific. "What's your favorite animal?" I tested her, knowing Sophia had been obsessed with dolphins since her 3rd birthday. She had dolphin pajamas, dolphin toys, and could recite dolphin facts for hours. This child processed the question for several seconds before responding, "I like all animals because they teach us about nature." The answer sounded like something from an educational video, not from a kindergartner's genuine enthusiasm. Instead of driving to Mike's house, I parked outside a McDonald's and called his cell phone. It went straight to voicemail, which was strange because Mike always answered when I was handling pickup duty. "Sophia, do you remember when we went to the beach last month?" I asked, referring to a family trip where she'd spent 3 hours building sandcastles and squealing every time waves touched her feet. This child looked confused, like I'd asked her to solve calculus. "I don't remember beaches," she said finally, "but I would like to learn about them because learning is important." I drove to Mike's house on Elm Street, my mind racing through impossible explanations. Mike's red Toyota wasn't there, even though he'd specifically told me he'd be home early today to surprise Sophia with a new bike. The child got out of my car and walked to the front door with mechanical precision, like she'd practiced this exact routine hundreds of times. She didn't run ahead or dawdle to examine bugs on the sidewalk like real Sophia always did. She just moved forward at a steady pace, hands swinging at perfectly measured intervals. Carmen Castillo opened the door before we could knock, and I watched her face carefully as she looked at the child. For a split second, her expression showed confusion and something that looked like fear. Then she forced a bright smile and said, "There's my little princess. How was school today, baby?" But her voice cracked slightly on the endearment, and she kept glancing nervously over the child's head to scan the street behind us. "I was good today, Mommy," the child replied in that same formal tone. I followed all instructions and made no disturbances. Carmen's smile wavered at the phrasing, and she stepped back to let us into the house. Inside their familiar living room, everything looked normal, except for small details that felt wrong. Sophia's artwork on the refrigerator had been replaced with precise, colorless drawings that looked like technical diagrams rather than a child's creative expression. The toys were arranged in perfect rows instead of scattered across the floor. "Where's Mike?" I asked Carmen directly. She was bustling around the kitchen, opening and closing cabinets like she'd forgotten where everything belonged. "Oh, he got called into work unexpectedly. You know how the construction business is." But Mike had sent me a text that morning specifically saying he was taking the afternoon off to spend time with Sophia. The timeline didn't match, and Carmen's nervous energy suggested she was lying about something significant. I noticed the child was watching our conversation with unusual intensity, like she was taking mental notes about how adults interacted. Real Sophia would have been pestering us for snacks or asking to watch cartoons. This girl just sat at the kitchen table, posture perfect, hands still folded like she was awaiting further instructions. "Carmen, can I use your bathroom?" I asked, but instead of going upstairs, I slipped down to the basement. The door was slightly ajar, and I could hear something that made my blood run cold. Mike's voice, talking in low, urgent tones. I crept down the stairs carefully, avoiding the squeaky third step I knew from countless visits. What I saw at the bottom made me understand that whatever was happening in this house was far worse than a simple case of mistaken identity. But what I found there changed everything. Full story is linked below or on my channel.